fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going around the outside of both of them. Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up top here.
Oh my God! Big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go.
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my God!
God, what?
This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
It's the start of a new chapter in the iRacing V8 Supercar Series. We head to Silverstone, the home of the British Formula 1 Grand Prix, for the first time in the official Monday Night V8 Supercar Series. My name is Jay Kennedy. Alongside me in the booth, we've got Cameron Dance. Cam, we saw an awesome race here on Friday night in AOSC. This track has surprised a lot of people that it is a lot better for racing than a lot were expecting.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very, very unique track for these supercars. Very flat, very wide, and you don't typically seem to see that in the V8. It sort of relies on the characteristics of the track, which makes it that much more of a driver's track because you've really got to extract the pace out of the car itself to really get some sort of lap time out of it. So it's a really, really interesting track, and like we saw in AOSC on Friday night, it was a really, really good race.
Yeah, it was a fantastic race on Friday night. So we quickly look at the championship standings with qualifying just about halfway done at the moment. Brady Myers leading the way over Marlon McMullen and Jake Burton, but still a long, long way to go. Very, very tight. And any of those guys in the top 8, actually probably top 10 or 12, have a legitimate chance at this championship. But the big changes, of course, are the team changes within that group. Brady Myers, Jackson Suzlin Harlow, and all of the other former TTL drivers looking for new homes or have found new homes. And some surprising team joinings in the last few days with Zero Esports, a former team of Mega Black Racing, getting some big signings, as well as Jackson Suzlin Harlow at Altus Esports. It's been a very, very interesting week.
Yeah, for sure it has. The unfortunate demise of what has been pretty much the oldest team in sim racing in the Australian side of it anyway is obviously created some very interesting signs for a lot of teams. Obviously, like you see, Jackson, Susan Harlow going to Altus Esports, Brady Myers going to Zero Esports. It's, been a really, really mixed week, and a lot of interesting things possibly could be on the horizon for those who haven't signed yet. But yeah, like you said, at the moment, it's all up in the air with that championship because it's so close.
Yeah, definitely. It is really, really close and really tight in that championship. And speaking of tight as well, qualifying at the moment is very, very tight. Very, very long circuit. And Cooper Webster leading the way at the moment, with Brett Loxton not too far behind. Loxton has continued on for a second lap, so he must be okay and happy with the time. Track conditions very, very cool. So potential to get 2 laps in, 2 runs at it with only 21 degree track temps, but Loxton not quicker on his second lap. Kazuki Umashima about to start his second lap. As just seen Jake Burton jump up into 4th position. So we'll see what he can do. Umashima, very well known out there within the community. He doesn't race a huge amount in the V8, but whenever he turns up, he always puts on a very, very good show.
Yeah, absolutely. He's been known to pop his head around every now and again into the V8 to give it a bit of a run every now and then when the former iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series wasn't on. So good to see him back out there as he crosses the line and goes to P4 to pip Jake Burns. So not a lot in it between those two, and actually not a lot in it between pretty much the entire field either.
Brady Myers is done. He will not complete his lap. Steve Jansen's just gone around to start another lap, so he won't go any quicker. Christian Smart yet to put in a lap time, just coming through the final corner now. See what he can do. Across the line, he's going to be a fair way off the pole time. He's about 3.5 seconds off, but he gets a time in and it does jump him up a few spots. He will not start last on the grid. Damon Mulqueen will be the next driver to cross the line and complete a lap. 25th. We've got a full grid of 32 cars out there tonight, which is great to see. I always love seeing a full grid, and I'll tell you what, that's a little bit too much curb, Damon.
Yeah, a very, very big curve hop there, and that's one of the other interesting bits about this track is the inside curbs are actually very, very large and very aggressive as Mulqueen goes to 24th as an improvement. But yeah, those curbs are actually quite a lot bigger than you think they are, and they really do unsettle the car quite a bit, as we saw there with Mulqueen as he came through the final chicane.
The conditions are pretty good for racing at the moment. It's before 8 a.m. out on track, so very, very early. As the checkered flag falls, the track temp around about the 22 degree mark. 27 laps of racing, 1 pit stop required. And the starting grid will be as follows, with Cooper Webster and Brett Loxton on the front row, Jordan Ross and Kazuki Umeshima on the second row, Jake Burton and Harley Haber on the third row, James Mackay and Brady Myers on the fourth row, with the fifth row having Jack Boyd and Corey Preston.
Just behind Preston, you've got Mullen McMullen and Sean Thompson, followed by Scott O'Keefe and Dean O'Brien. Steve Hansen rounds out the top 15 with Damian Johnson and Dominic Ferraris in 16th and 17th. And rounding out the top 20 will be Blake Purdy, Michael Talioutsich, and Brad Newman.
We've got Tom Freer and Thomas Hinds on row 11. Neil Lashloff in 23rd with Mulqueen in 24th. David Kinman a little bit further back than we would normally expect in 25th position. Christian Vigiano in 26th. Greg Sharp and Brendan Christensen on the 14th row with Christian Smart, Christian Ortega, Ashley Ruskin and Josh Perwin. The rest of the field, as we said, a full field of 32 cars out on track. And one surprise as well is how far back Mullen McMullen's starting here.
Yeah, and one thing to remember is that the gearing's actually quite low here. You would kind of think it'd be a bit high, but it's actually not too high. So getting out off the line's actually a little bit of a challenge, with obviously a lot easier to spin the wheels up. So going to be really interesting to see who's going to get that better launch and who's possibly going to fall down the field. Yeah, seems everybody's managed to get on through. Umeshima just nearly getting on the grass there through the first couple of corners, but he's managed to hold on to it. A couple of guys going 3 wide in the mid-pack and just behind outside the top 5, so it's all going off. Everybody trying to find a bit of racetrack, and they're just managing to do it. Burton's actually fallen back quite a ways as well, gone from 5th all the way down to about 8th now, so he's lost quite a few positions, but currently good start for Webster at the front. Yeah, Loxton's managed to get a pretty good run there at the start, so he's not doing too bad for himself there.
My apologies, I muted my microphone so only Cam could hear me, but we are all systems go. And Mullen McMullen, slow down penalty. This was a big key to Friday night's AOSC race. Slow downs through that section. Dean O'Brien with one as well, and losing a whole heap of time as James Mackay, Jake Burton and Jack Boyd battle in the midfield.
Yeah, Mackay's going to try go up the inside, not quite going to back out of it, but now Boyd's going to try and go around the outside, and Mackay going to go too wide, nearly contact, but he's looking like he's going to have the position with the way that the corner is going to have him. McKee trying to hold around the outside, but doesn't quite necessarily concede the position, so that's Boyd up in the 7th, but like you said, those slowdowns, very easy to get through the Maggots Beckett section, especially with how much Kirby really need to take to optimize your cornering speed through there.
Cooper Webster leading after the first lap. Loxton just holding on, but in the background too, Harley Haber's got into 3rd position, gained 3 spots from where he started, and now starting to apply a lot of pressure in regards to pace. Jordan Ross, also one of the quicker drivers here, but Umashima having a look up the inside. That's a huge dive. And a little bit of contact, but fairly clean through. Umashima into 4th position.
Oh, but Ross is going to come back at him. He's going to get up the inside. They're going to be side by side. Ross is just going to get the drive off the corner. Although Umashima's not going to let it go up easy. He's going to try and stick around the outside, but slots back in behind. Burton's not too far back from them, so if these two keep fighting, he's going to have a pretty good chance of getting back inside the top 5.
Just behind there too, Brady Myers tucked right under that rear wing of James Mackay, who has let Jack Boyd skip off down the road. He's already pulled a 2.5, and here comes Myers looking, coming into Maggots and Beckett's. Umashima, Burton and Ross, this is a really intense battle. There's heaps of really good battles going on the whole way through the field. The only driver that's not in a battle is Christian Smart, unfortunately, after that lap 1 incident. But Loxton applying so much pressure to Cooper Webster at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. Loxton's all over the back of Webster at the moment. He's doesn't quite seem to be able to get the exit on a number of these corners, but he's really strong on the brakes. Is the battle behind is Burton's now all over the back of Omashima. A little bit of contact as well. We're good measure, and Omashima getting very sideways out of the second to last turn. It's very easy to do. They're actually short shifting up to 4 through that section to try and keep the wheel straight, but Burton's going to look to go up the inside, possibly at turn 1. Not quite going to get it done. Omashima's going to run wide though and allow Burton to take advantage and go side by side through turn 2. Burton's going to be on the inside, so he's going to have the optimum line and he'll take
Boyd.
That position, but Boyd's going to try and come in through this as well.
Boyd is the 2nd fastest car out on track, or 3rd fastest car I should say, behind Webster and Loxton. Then it's Jack Boyd and Harley Haber, the next 2 fastest. And then they had some great paces. Damien Johnson just loses a spot to Sean Thompson as well. And we also saw Brady Myers and Corey Preston through on James Mackay. So here's a little bit of a cork in the bottle. Side by side, Marlon McMullen and Dominic Ferraris as McMullen gets his redemption drive back through. And Scott O'Keefe also making a move there on David Kimmin. So lots of passing going on for a track that everyone thought was going to have 0 passing. We've seen more passing already than what we've seen in the whole season so far, as Umashima looks to get this move done again.
Yeah, really, really good to see a lot of passing going on. Umashima's still trying to get that move done on Burton. Those two have been going in at tooth and nail, and we're only 3 laps into this race, but Boyd's right there or thereabouts, so he's going to try and make a move on Umashima here. Not quite going to get it done though. He'll back out and try and get the run onto the hangar straight. If he sets it up right, Umashima trying to close that gap up to Burton, but not quite able to get it through the mid corner. If he can get the exit, he should be able to, but doesn't look like he's quite get it done.
Something's happened to Tom Freer. His car was stopped. And was he helped here, or has he done this one all on his own? He's had some sort of failure there and just gone straight ahead. Dean O'Brien tucked in behind. I thought he may have made contact, but definitely was none as we come back live. Got some side-by-side as Damon Mulqueen loses a spot due to another slowdown penalty, and Thomas Hinds also with the slowdown penalty. So slowdown starting to hurt a lot of these drivers as Cooper Webster is starting to pull away from Brett Loxton. Last time by 2:02.9. That's incredibly quick around this circuit. Jack Boyd though also looking really quick. He has the pace to get past both Burton and Umashima, but just can't quite do it yet.
He's about 2 tenths quicker than Umashima, and then about 6 tenths quicker than Burton. Is Umashima's really close again to the rear end of Burton. He seems to be quite strong through sector 1, but loses out through the latest part of the lap. So what can he do here? He's got a pretty solid run out of turn 5. He's going to look to use the draft, not quite going to be close enough to make a move though.
No, he's not quite there, and shows the nose a little bit, using a completely different line. One thing we noticed on Friday night and commented on in the broadcast for AOSC on Friday night was the amount of different lines that everyone's still taking through turns 1 through to 6. Nobody's really worked the section out yet in these cars. The other thing too, coming through that section there past the old pit straight, the old pit buildings, you can cut that corner a lot more than you used to in the past, and guys were getting very, very aggressive through that. As Burton makes a little bit of a snake, and so does Umashima. Jack Boyd's the only one that gets through there fine.
Yeah, another thing to remember is these drivers do have to remember that off-tracks are quite easy to get, so I don't want to abuse them too much, especially in this 27-lap race where having 16 with probably about 5 to go, for example, slow down. So that's going to hurt him massively, and that's going to allow Brady Myers, who's not too far behind, to close in and actually possibly gain a position out of this.
Yeah, so Boyd now into 6th. Burton drops back to 7th position. He's lost another spot there to Brady Myers. He might lose another one to Jake Burton, not quite. So slowdown penalty is very, very aggressive here as Jack Boyd's still looking to get the move done. Not quite close enough.
He just doesn't quite seem to have the pace at the moment. If he can time the pit stop quite right, he might be able to jump with Mishima, but seems to still have some relatively decent pace. It's 2-minute 3.8 for both of them that time by. Boyd a little bit slower, but pretty equal on pace for those two, as now Myers is not too far behind, actually a little bit quicker than both Boyd and Mishima, so Myers going to be on a charge here while Burton is just behind trying to recover. And
James Mackay still losing spots as well, so started in 7th, back to 10th, and he may lose another one to Sean Thompson, who looks quick as well, as Damon Mulqueen gives up a spot there to Thomas Hinds. And Brett Loxton is now out of the draft, so he's now 1 second back from Cooper Webster. But Harley Haber looking like he's on a charge here. Haber, Boyd, and Brady Myers were 3 of the quickest drivers out there on Friday nights. This is going to be great to see if they can close it up. And as you said too, pit stops and timing those pit stops is going to be crucial. Know that the overcut worked just as well as the undercut. Being stuck in that middle of the range, pitting around halfway, may not be the answer. You either want to pit early or pit late.
Yeah, 100%. The tyre wear seems to be about middle ground of it being high but also low. So you want to, it's a very strange strategy in that the undercut or overcut can go either way in your favour. It just really is going to come down to where you come out in traffic and how much you really do use up your tyres at the end.
James Mackay almost had enough momentum there to get past Corey Preston, and now Sean Thompson's right in there. And have a look at the different lines here as well. Preston really wide and really aggressive. May have got a slowdown penalty. It looks like he might be okay. No slowdown. I thought he was too aggressive there, and he does give up the spot. So now Mackay and Thompson in to 9th and 10th. And have a look at Damon Mulqueen in the background as well. Sorry, Marlon McMullen in the background. He's got a huge train of cars behind. Scott O'Keefe up the inside, and also Dominic Ferraris looking too as Taliancic through on Ferraris. So that was Blake Purdy looking to make a move on Steve Jansen. So much passing going on, it's so hard to keep up.
Yeah, it's just going off all throughout the field. Everybody's trying to find racetrack. Is it going to go 2 by 2 through the final section? Taliancic and Johnson, Jansen and Purdy all scrapping it out for these minor positions just outside the top 10. It's, yeah, like I said, all just going off. There's so much going on, you can't keep up.
Loxton now 1.2 behind, and Harley Haber's well and truly in the draft range of Brett Loxton. Brady Myers has got Jake Burton tucked under that rear wing as well. He's starting to apply a bit more pressure on his recovery drive, and James Mackay's got the little pack with Damian Johnson closing up really quickly. So Johnson was a long way back, and now is well and truly there to potentially get a move done. And Preston has well and truly dropped off from that slowdown penalty. Look at Johnson, he's on a charge.
Yeah, Johnson having a look up the inside, but not quite close enough, although a little bit of a mistake from Thompson there, so it's brought it right up to the back end of Thompson's car there. Has Johnston, is he going to get the traction that off the corner? That's going to be the key, but not quite. Thompson's just going to have a little bit of an edge over them, so he'll have a little bit of an advantage there, but Boyd and Omashima still going on between these two. There's just nothing in it between them.
An issue there for Dean O'Brien. He actually looked like some sort of failure there with the way that the car behaved. Is we've got a change of position. Harley Haber through on Brett Loxton. And Jordan Ross too. Something's wrong with Brett Loxton there because he's really slow. Need another look at what's happened there, because Harley Haber through Jordan Ross through, and Brett Loxton's lost a lot of ground.
Yeah, appears there was actually contact between the two of them, Haber and Loxton into Maggots and Beckett's. Haber used a little bit of the front bumper, and then Loxton got very, very loose and actually just ended up making contact with Haber again. So, bit of a wild action going on for that second position. But now Ross is all over the back end of Haber, who's going to be probably going to struggle a little bit with those heated up tyres.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a little bit of trouble for Haber here with that damage to the side of the car as well. Jordan Ross's car not looking 100% either, but interesting how Haber got through there. I'm sure that Loxton won't be too happy. Of course, last week Brett Loxton wasn't too happy with some of the driving out on the circuit, so he'll be unhappy with how that's played out again. Jack Boyd still applying pressure to Kazuki Umeshima. And Umeshima is doing a good job defending from one of the fastest young guns we have in this series. Jack Boyd trying to hold on.
Yeah, 6,000ths of a second was all it was between the two of them in terms of that last lap time. So very, very close. It's a bit of the rookie versus the pro sort of situation going on between these two. It's all about experience, and while experience in the V8 is one thing, being experienced in general is another. So it's a bit of a mixed situation in who's got what over each other at this point.
It's interesting, as you said, like Umashima's been around for a long, long time, very, very well known, but doesn't race these cars a huge amount. He does race them maybe once a season or twice a season, and does enjoy racing them, just doesn't get enough time to race. And Jack Boyd, we know how much he races these cars. He's in almost every one of our Monday night broadcasts, and is climbing his way up the ladder in the iRacing V8 Supercar series quite quickly. So he's one to watch for the future, Jack Boyd. We're going to go back in the field a little bit because Dominic Ferraris and Steve Jansen still going at it. Very, very tight. The Exto Gaming car of Ferraris looking quick, but just can't quite get past Jansen. He might be close enough this time, though.
Yeah, he's going to have the draft down at the back straight, is he? But he's not quite going to have enough pace. Managed to get it move up the inside into the next corner. Will he get it into the chicane? He's looking like he might just be close enough looking up the inside. I thinks it's better off it just sticking the nose out, trying to fill Jansen's mirrors to get a mistake, but to nail a veil.
They're just not quite able to get it done in the end. There is Dominic Ferraris, so he will hold on to 16th position for now. At the front of the field, Cooper Webster now out to a 4.5 second lead. Sorry, 3.5 second lead. And Jordan Ross not too far behind Harley Haber, still not quite close enough to get a move done. And Brady Myers also coming in as, have late lunge there for Dominic Ferraris. Not quite able to get through on Jansen, but this is getting a little bit spicy. And Taliancic and O'Keefe starting to close up. What I was going to say is Brady Myers and Jake Burton are starting to close in on Umeshima as Taliancic is around in the background.
You know, looks like Taliancic has actually had a bit of contact. He's been sort of helped a little bit from the car of Scott O'Keefe. Just a little bit of a bump coming into the corner. He's just ended up getting the rear end a bit too loose. So it's going to be really, really tough for Taliancic to come back from this. Although he might be able to use an undercut at some point to try and possibly gain some time out of this if he can.
Yeah, exactly right. And we do know that the Pursuit Sim Racing guys are very, very smart in how they play strategy. So if any team's able to get some moves done in the pit stops and work out a strategy that can get them ahead of other drivers, that team is one of those. So we continue to watch Jack Boyd. Jordan Ross also right in the draft there of Harley Haber, but not going to be quite close enough. Jack Boyd, though, is close enough. And this could be a move up the inside. As well in the background, Sean Thompson with the slowdown. He's just given up 3 spots. Boyd's gone wide, and they're going to go side by side into the final section of this track.
Yeah, Boyd just pinched right front there, and it caused him to run a little bit deep, but he's managed to do a good job defending and holding onto that position. But big curb hop, Kazuki Yamashima getting very loose on the exit of the chicane. It's going to cost him and let Brady Myers on through. So Brady up to P6 now. Really, really good race for him so far, having started P8. So he's up 2 positions at the moment, but Kazuki will be really kicking himself that mistake, and Burns still there or thereabouts just sitting there waiting for a mistake as Umashima's going to try for a move. Not quite on Brady Myers, who sits station now. Burns all over the back end of Umashima. A little bit of touching going on between the bumpers, but Burton's going to try and get the run on to the next straight. He's got a solid exit by the looks of it, and it's looking like he's going to be having enough of a run to get a move done in here.
While we were watching that little fight, Ferraris finally got through on Steve Jansen as well. We're staying live though because this battle is very, very spicy at the moment. Umashima starting to lose a little bit of ground to Myers and Boyd very, very quickly. And Burton now trying to get that spot back that he lost earlier from the slowdown penalty through Maggots and Beckett's.
Yeah, he's not quite got the run this time down the old pit straight into Cops. He's going to be very strong to brakes, so pokes the nose out to fill Umashima's mirrors as Umashima runs a little bit deep. That's going to cost him a bit. Burton's going to try and go around the outside. Don't do it, boys. It's not going to work going too wide as Burton's going to still get on through. And Umashima will concede, although he's going to try and come back at him, but not quite. And Burton will hold on to the position for the time being. If he can get the run off the corner onto the back straight, he should be able to get the job done and hold on to that position.
One little fight this is. So looks like Burton's got the momentum, starting to pull away. We're going to cut up to this battle for second and third though, because have a look at who is defending here. Harley Haber having to be a little bit defensive because Jordan Ross's pace looks really, really good. Only one car faster out on track at the moment. That is Cooper Webster, his teammate at the front of the field, who is now up to a 5-second lead.
Yeah, Webster driving away from this field in absolute class. You cannot beat the guy. He's just so quick at the moment, but Ross is still trying to find a way past the Mach 1 Esports car of Harley Haber, who seems to be doing a very good job at defending off from Jordan Ross. But just behind them also, Brady Myers is doing a fantastic job trying to find his way past Jack Boyd, who seems to possibly be struggling a little bit.
Umashima still hanging on the back of Jake Burton as well. Sean Thompson still trying to get back past Corey Preston after his slowdown penalty. Preston absolutely lights up the rears and might have lost momentum. Down the Wellington straight, we'll see if Thompson can get close enough. I think he's going to have a dive under brakes here. He's getting right up the inside, and he will. Side by side they go, almost contact. Corey Preston was a little bit ambitious with how much room he gave there. Sean Thompson probably could have been a little bit more aggressive in holding the line. He gave Preston a little bit too much of a free kick there. Preston holds onto the spot.
Yeah, nearly had it there, did Thompson, to try and get the move done. Didn't quite manage to get it done, but Corey Preston's going to come under immense pressure. Thompson all over the back end, a little bit of contact, a good measure there into Cops, but Thompson's going to be right there. And now McMullen is going to be possibly there as Corey's...
Was that a brake check? Slowdown. Was it a slowdown or a brake check? He was on the brakes on the straight, on the racing line. That was strange.
Yeah, actually, very much was. It was looked like a brake check, but also a slowdown. It was very, very hard to tell. As we'll get a Motum Simulations replay, as you can see on board from Thompson. A little bit of a bump into Cops there as Thompson stays behind, redresses sort of to not really let him be, and Preston just jumps on the brakes. So
that was strange.
Very situation there.
That was strange, and we have our first pit stop happening in this race. Kazuki Umashima is the first to jump. He is in the pits after 10 laps of racing on lap 11 and trying to get this undercut to work.
It's going to be very interesting to see what that clean air is going to be able to do for Umashima. Obviously, he's been battling all race in what has been a 4-car fight for the 5th position, as Myers really struggling to pull up with the car on Boyd there. Nearly ran into the back one, but that's going to allow Burton now to possibly have a go at getting past Myers. Although Myers has shown some very good pace recently, having joined Zero Esports, so he's going to be probably looking to get by here. If he's relatively smart, he should actually pit in the next few laps, and if he can get the undercut, it might actually help him in the long run here.
Umashima out after 21-second pit stop, so that is our marker to watch over the next little bit. Also got Ben Christensen coming in for his pit stop At 3 DNFs, it looks like it's a horrible night for One Performance Racing with Dean O'Brien and Brad Newman both out of the race. And Sean Thompson's given up a spot here to Marlon McMullen. Now this will be interesting. Marlon McMullen and Corey Preston, there is no love lost between these two.
Yeah, there certainly is, and it's a long history between McMullen and Preston, going well back to quite a few years now, so it's going to be very interesting to see how this battle plays out and whether there's going to be any tears shed or possibly going to be some very good racing. It'll be definitely a battle to keep an eye on, but that battle for that top 5 position still going on. Myers really looking aggressive, trying to find a way past. Is he going to come into the pit lane? That's going to be the real question. No one blinks out of that group though.
A little surprise there. I thought Brady Myers might have been one to jump and try and clear ahead. We'll see if anyone in this little pack is. Sean Thompson's looking really, really quick. Marlon McMullen will jump and come into the pit lane. And one thing about this pit lane, it does creep up really quickly. We saw a few drivers get caught out with the line. You feel like it's going to be a little bit further up than what it actually is, and you have to get on the brakes so late to pull it up and so aggressively to pull it up. Because of the straight entrance to the pit lane, you've got a lot more momentum than you're expecting.
Yeah, and the pit lane speed limit isn't exactly quick either. It's only 55 kilometers an hour, so not one of the quickest pit lanes, but not one of the slowest either. So you've really got to be careful and not be too aggressive on your entry, as if you do speed, you end up getting that quite large stop and hold penalty, which you really can't afford, especially if you're someone like McMullen who's got some very good pace, or even someone in the top 5 or top 10.
You know all about the speeding and pit lane penalty at this track too, Cam, after Friday night?
Yes, I do. It's, yeah, it's...
Sorry, I had to bring it up.
We'll leave it in Friday.
I couldn't let that opportunity go after Friday night, where you gave up a very, very good spot to a slow-down penalty, or a speeding and pit lane penalty. So Harley Haber's feeling the pressure here from Jordan Ross. He's doing a great job at the moment, is Jordan Ross. The only driver at the moment doing 2-minute 3-second lap times is Cooper Webster. Everyone else is in the 2:04s and 2:05s. It'll be interesting to see what Umashima's first flying lap is, as he is back out on track now, about 54 seconds back from the race lead. And that 20 to 21 second pit stop seems to be about what we're looking at here for this race. It's Jordan Ross. Look at the pressure. Late lunge.
Oh. Yeah, I was just going to say, Jordan Ross might actually benefit from an undercut here. He's been sitting behind Haber for quite a bit as they both blink and come into pit lane. So Haber and Ross both in the pit lane. Ross coming right up to the back end to get it as late as he can. So does Myers also coming to pit lane. So he's gotten out of that battle that he was having with Jake Burton and also the car of Jack Boyd. So Burton and Boyd staying out to try and get the overcut while Myers, Ross and Haber come in. This is going to be very interesting to see who does what and who actually jumps who, possibly.
And this pit lane is also quite long. As you said, it's fairly slow at 54 k's an hour, but it's also a really, really long pit lane. Add in the 20-second pit stop and the uphill run coming out of the pits. It's a really, really difficult pit lane, and we'll see where Umashima will come out here. Expect this lap time to be pretty impressive with the first flying lap. So we'll see what he can do. There's no other real battles going on at the moment because half of the field has driven into the pit lane. We'll see if anyone makes moves at the pit stop. Jordan Ross away. Have a look at the jump of Jordan Ross and Brady Myers.
Good jump from Brady Myers there in the pit stop. He didn't quite jump Haber, but he was very close to it. So good pit stop from Brady Myers there to get actually quite close to Haber, and good pit stop by Ross to jump Haber as well. So expect Ross to probably start pulling away from this little group behind him and try and hunt down his teammate, as we've seen Cooper's obviously not got too slow pace, so he should be able to use that to his advantage. And should Haber be able to hold onto his tyres, he might be able to do all right against Myers here.
Yeah, exactly right. And interesting, Brady Myers' pit stop 4 seconds quicker than Harley Haber. That equates to around about 12 litres of fuel. So that's a lot of fuel difference in the car. I just wonder whether it's Haber's overfilled the car, Myers has underfilled the car, or possibly both. So definitely a huge discrepancy in the pit stop times between these two drivers as Cooper Webster responds. No surprise there. Brett Loxton also responds and he will drive into the lane. Jack Boyd will come in as well as Jake Burton. And James Mackay will continue on and take the race lead. Damien Johnson does come in as well as Corey Preston. Will Ferraris come in as well? Yes, he does. Scott O'Keefe also in, so it looks like everyone's deciding now is the time to come in.
Well, it's not exactly a silly thing to split this race in two, especially with the way it's been. You want to sort of have an undercut, but you also want an overcut. It's one of those weird ones where you can also split it 50-50 and not do too bad either. So we're really interested to see who can possibly look after their tyres from pitting early and who's going to have the ability to use those tyres, those newer tyres, to the advantage for those who've done an overcut.
There's sort of from what we saw on Friday night, there's no absolute right or wrong strategy. It's just making sure you actually hit your marks and time your stop perfectly, as Brett Loxton's going to come out right behind these guys. Here you can just see the blue car. Here comes Harley Haber looking up the inside of Jordan Ross, and Jordan Ross defending aggressively. And Haber gets the move done. Jordan Ross is going to try and cut back here.
Oh, contact!
Oh no! Haber around, and Brady Myers had to check up a little bit there, and there's been contact between he and Burton, and Jack Boyd's riding this too. And have a look who's closed up on this pack. Kazuki Mishima's back in this. Here comes Burton. We'll get a replay of that incident in a little bit. But Burton and Brady Myers side by side.
He burns up the inside. Brady's trying to hold around the outside, but a contact, and that's going to allow Boyd to try and make a move. He's going to try and hang it around the outside of Myers here. He's going to struggle to get the power down. We're just doing enough at the time being. Omishima is sitting there patiently waiting for a gap to open up. He's got a good run on Myers here. Going to go around the outside as Myers trying to defend. All sorts of weaving going on as Myers up the inside, barely on Jack Boyd, as Omishima's still trying to find a way by. Can't quite do it. He's looking in all sorts of places, but there's just no gap for him. So we'll have to sit station for the time being. He's got some really good pace in the moment, very hot tyres. So it's another thing to take into account is that he's got some very good heat in those tyres. So we have optimum heat, as Jordan Ross has had a moment, and he's looking like he's had a slowdown there by the looks of it.
Lost the spot to Brett Loxton.
Oh, he's actually got loose onto the back straight, actually.
Just lit up the tyres coming out of the last corner, the Maggots Beckett section, and has given up the spot to Brett Loxton. So now Umashima trying to get past Brady Myers. Now that it's settled down a little bit, let's get another look at that incident between Jordan Ross and Harley Haber. So it was a late look from Haber up the inside. This could be a very, very good angle of this one.
Yeah, it looked like Ross
just bounced
tried to get a bit of... Yeah, he tried to get a bit of a undercut on him to get a good exit, but just ended up probably going in a little bit too quick, and the curb just unsettled the car that little bit too much. So really unfortunate for Haber there, and also Ross, who probably wasn't intentionally meaning to do that. So going to probably be not too many happy faces after that one, but still, regardless, it's one of those incidents you hate to see, but it's probably going to happen, especially with how close this field has been.
I think because the times are just so close, and the nature of that section of the track, it is so wide, and there's no 100% absolute perfect line. There's so many different lines at work. We're always going to see incidents like that. Now, Haber's closed back in on the tail of this group. So Haber now in the draft of Umashima. Cooper Webster has a 10-second advantage over Brett Loxton now, as James Mackay continues on from the lead of this race. He's given up, though, on that. He's coming into the pits with 12 laps remaining. The Cooper Webster will retake the race lead in just a moment. Everyone has decided to jump down in the pit lane. Loxton pulling away from Jordan Ross. Jake Burton starting to pull away from Jack Boyd. Brady Myers also pulling away, but Harley Haber is closing in on the tail of Umashima. And guess who else is battling out there now after the pit stops? Corey Preston closing back in on Marlon McMullen, but Sean Thompson's jumped them both.
Yeah, some good pit work there by Thompson. He didn't look like he had too bad of his pit stop, actually. He was he stopped a little bit longer than McMullen and Preston. So interesting, he's actually managed to come out ahead of both of them. And looking at that, it must have been possibly some contact or something going on. That's obviously opened up a gap for him to get by both of those two.
Exactly right, and it's now meant that Preston and McMullen are nose to tail once again. 12 laps to go in this race. It is flying by. It's been so action-packed, so much going on throughout this race so far. We thank you for tuning in here on the iRacing Esports Network to our coverage of the Monday Night V8 series. Every Monday night here at this time, we are here live on YouTube and on our Facebook page.
So Haber was actually...
Whoa! Oh no!
Oh no!
Brady Myers has just had something go wrong. Because he just stopped in the middle of the track.
That must have been a pedal issue, because that was just very strange for that to have suddenly happened out of the blue. That was very bizarre.
Oh! And Haywood wouldn't have even seen that coming.
No, he wouldn't have, because he was actually behind quite a few cars at that time. So he would have probably just seen Myers pop out and he would have had nowhere to go. So yeah, he was actually behind Umashima. So Umashima
you won't even see the car.
And Haber had nowhere to go.
And by the time he's seen him, he's turning the wheel. He's already on the brake at the same time. Hopefully we'll find out what's happened there to Brady Myers, but that had to be a failure of some sort. We saw a couple of failures in V8 Scops last night, wheel and pedal failures, so not uncommon. As Corey Preston's closed this gap in on McMullen even closer, this is going to get interesting. I expect a big lunge coming up very, very soon.
Yeah, Preston doesn't quite have the run here, although
it's never stopped him before.
Look, not quite going to be close enough, so he'll sit behind for the time being, although it doesn't get too bad of a run. As Umashima, as you said, did lose a spot there to Harley Haber. It's actually interesting that Haber's actually managed to carry on with that damage. I'm actually surprised it wasn't as bad as what it could have possibly been. So very lucky for Haber to get away there with not too bad of damage, if any.
We're hearing it's some sort of full PC failure for Brady Myers. It sort of explains what happened. It looked a little bit like that. So as Jordan Ross also feeling pressure now from Jake Burton. So we've got three really intense battles going on as Umashima's about to lose another spot here to James Mackay. No, gets it back. But Mackay will have the run down the Wellington Straight.
Yeah, Mackay all over the back end of Umashima for the time being. Going to look up the inside, make a move onto the brakes as late as he dares, nearly locking the rears up. A little bit of a squirrely bit of action into the brake zone, but manages to get the job done. So he will take 7th position. But Umashima's not done with this yet. He'll try and come back at him, but not quite going to get the drive off the corner.
Burton now right under the rear wing of Jordan Ross. So Burton trying to get back into a podium spot. I tell you what, it'll get interesting if Burton gets through and closes in on Brett Loxton. After last week's race, there was a very, very intense heated discussion between Burton and Loxton around how that race played out. And there will be absolutely no love lost between those two.
Yeah, for sure. There will be absolutely zero love lost between Loxton and Burton. Should they come close enough on track? Obviously, Burton's got a pretty solid run down the back straight on John Ross here, but it's not quite going to be enough of an edge. Very strong under brakes to close that gap up. So Burton's got some very good brakes under him at the moment, and he's going to look to possibly make a move. No, he's going to sit station for the time being, getting very close under brakes. So you know that he's got much stronger braking ability than Ross, so use that to his advantage if he can get close enough.
He might be just waiting till the final phase of the race as well, because sometimes it's not worth getting past too early. We're just going to go back through the field, because guess who's battling again? Ferraris and Janssen side by side again, and Ferraris is going to come back through. Janssen did get ahead in the pit stops, but Ferraris has got that spot back. We'll go back to the front, because while these two are battling, they're actually both closing in on Brett Loxton as well. So Loxton really struggling for pace. And Cooper Webster in a class of his own. He is by far the fastest car out on track at the moment.
Yeah, some amazing pace by Webster. He's done nothing wrong all race so far. He's pretty much not quite won the race, but he's run a flawless race, and there's just no denying it that he's going to have a really, really good race to finish at this stage. And looking at the lap times, Jack Boyd was actually the second fastest car on track that last time by, so going to be really interesting to see what Boyd can possibly do and whether he's got anything left in those tyres to get past a few ahead of him.
And have a look at the pace too from James Mackay. He just set his fastest lap of the race, one of the fastest laps, 2:03.8, and he is closing in on Harley Haber. No surprise Haber will be down a little bit on straight line speed. But Loxton, Ross, Burton and Boyd all now within 1.7 seconds. So these four cars getting very, very tight. And Haber is feeling the pressure from that Ford Falcon of James Mackay behind. Umashima starting to drop off from that pack as well. But Loxton is feeling the pressure. He is starting to feel the heat. Jordan Ross is within half a second. And if any of these drivers make a mistake through Maggots and Beckett's, that will be a slowdown penalty. And that will lose them a whole chunk of positions as James Mackay has a look up the inside. And that's moved on. So great pass by James Mackay. He is on a charge.
Yeah, really good drive by Mackay tonight. He's done very well to actually be up where he is at the moment. Obviously did start 7th, so he's still around the same place as where he started, but looks like Haber's car is actually probably a little bit more damaged than we think it is, and that damage is starting to hurt him quite a bit now.
Yeah, it will be. It's starting to be a little bit more painful as the race goes on. Of course, probably a little bit of steering damage. While the tyres are still fresh, it might be all right, but as the tyres go away, that damage will feel a lot worse as Jordan Ross doing a good job defending from Jake Burton. Although Burton late lunge up the inside and almost a carbon copy of what we saw earlier. Jack Boyd's going to have some momentum here and could be close enough to get a move done on Jake Burton. Look at the run.
Yeah, Boyd's got a pretty decent run. He's going to look up the inside of Burton here and go very late under brakes. Very good move, although Burton's going to hang it around the outside, but Boyd's going to get the job done before and get to that contact between the two of them. So Boyd's going to now have to slot in behind. Probably a bit of an over-aggressive move there from Burton to move it to a gap that didn't really exist. We'll get a Modem Simulations replay of that because that was very, very wild.
So good first move there from Jack Boyd. He got it done very well, but just couldn't quite cover off in front of Burton, and then comes in to close the gap off, and by that point Jake Burton was already in there and contact made. So the one positive is Jack Boyd has the pace to get back there. Last lap by he was the fastest, sorry, he wasn't the fastest out on track. Missed out on the fastest lap that last time by 0.03 of a second to Cooper Webster as Harley Haber starting to come back on James Mackay as well.
Yeah, Haber's looking like he's got, well, it wasn't quite as quick as him that last time by, but he's got some very decent pace. Possibly just needed to give the tyres a little bit of a rest for a lap or so, just to bring them back to life after pushing them for so long. So it's going to be really interesting to see when and where Haber's also going to possibly make the move. He's looking very strong at the moment, but
aggressive under brakes, isn't he?
Yeah, he's very strong under brakes, so going to be one of those places that he's probably going to have a go.
And only 8 laps remaining in this race. It is going by very, very quickly. The first race, the Monday V8 series here at Silverstone. Next week will be a huge race, one of the biggest races on the calendar every season. We head to Watkins Glen next week, so make sure you do join us for that one next week. Looking forward to getting back to Watkins, especially after last night in V8 Scop. So a really cool schedule coming up for the remainder of this series as well this season. Some older tracks that we haven't seen for a little while mixed in with the new ones like Silverstone. We head to Road America and VIR, as well as going back to Daytona to do the Roval again, which was one of the more enjoyable races we saw throughout the season last year. Umashima runs wide and has a little mistake. He's losing ground pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think Umashima's possibly used those tyres up a little bit too early for his liking, and he's just ended up making more mistakes than he needs to and falling back than him as well. So really, really unfortunate for Umashima, as he had some very good pace early on, especially in the first half of the race before that pit stop. So not probably going to be the result Umashima is going to want, but Burton still hunting down Brett Loxton, and looking at pace, it's probably a bit lineable as Loxton gets very sideways out of the Maggots Beckett section and onto the back straight. So that's going to allow Ross to have a bit of an advantage heading down towards the next corner.
Top speed at the braking zone for Brett Loxton, 261. For Jordan Ross, 265. So the draft definitely helping a little bit. Wasn't quite able to make inroads, or as much of an inroad as we thought. Also just saw there too that Dominic Ferraris and Steve Jansen are back battling again. Harley Haber has dropped a little bit now from James Mackay. Not a huge amount, but just enough. As well as Burton dropping from Jordan Ross. Jordan Ross looks the most likely to get a move out of this group now. 7 laps to go.
Yeah, Ross is really close now onto the back of Loxton. Probably not quite close enough at this stage to have a move, but that slide from Loxton will really have hurt those rears a little bit. So you have to be careful not to punish them too much more. Otherwise, Ross is going to be all over the back end and possibly even having another go. He's got a very solid run of turn 5 and 6 as well. So taking down the short straight, it's not quite going to be close enough, although we'll see some pretty late braking moves. Ross decides better of it to sit behind for the time being.
Also seeing Corey Preston's closing back in on Sean Thompson. Preston has got ahead of Marlon McMullen, who it looks like on the timing he's made a mistake through Maggots and Beckett's and has dropped back about 3.5 seconds to Corey Preston. But Jordan Ross, we go back to him because he is looking ready to pounce. Now within 0.3 of a second. Well and truly tucked under that rear wing of Brett Loxton, and Loxton will not be wanting to give this one up easy.
Yeah, for sure. You want redemption after last week's race, that's for sure, and it's looking like he's not doing too bad. He also didn't do too bad at AOSC on Friday night, so he's going to try and use that pace to his advantage. Obviously, having made that mistake out of this corner here where he just got a little bit too sideways and eager on the throttle, he's done a very good job this time to get a pretty solid exit out of the corner. But Ross is going to have that draft. Not quite going to be closing quick enough to make a move, though.
No, he's almost like he's setting up, trying to work out where the weakest point is, and he can get that move done and get the momentum. He's just tucking under the rear wing for now, and then he'll pounce at the last possible moment in this race. It's, Jordan Ross looking really strong. Jake Burton starting to close back up again. So this is going to get very, very interesting. Now only 6 laps to go. Look at the gap though for Cooper Webster, 15.3 seconds up the road. He is absolutely flying in this race. Literally gone into another postcode.
Yeah, he's well and truly gone at this point. It's pretty much his race to lose with only a handful of laps to go, as the battle is still going on between Loxton and Ross. Burton, quickest out of these three that last time by as well, by quite a bit as well. 0.3 to Loxton and 1/10 to Ross. So very, very close between these two. It's a big, big moment there.
There's contact between Talyancic and Hins as Talyancic redresses the position, but that was heavy impact. So they were side by side for quite a fair section there. So on board here with Michael Talyancic and just a little bit late on the brakes, makes a little bit of contact, and good job to redress the position. That's what we do like to see when drivers do redress after incidents. Very, very sporting to see that. So well done to Michael Talyancic. They'll resume their battle. We come back to Jordan Ross now. Still as close as he has been, but not quite close enough to get a move done.
Yeah, and Burton's just slowly starting to catch the two ahead of him as well. Not too large, but the gap's just slowly creeping up. He's very strong, the Maggots and Beckett's, and obviously under brakes as well, and other key braking zones. So really going to be something these boys are going to have to keep an eye on and make sure that they can optimize their tyres and not burn them up a little bit too quick.
The gap stays around the 0.4 of a second. Burton around about the same. Jack Boyd not far behind as well. They're pulling away from Harley Haber is James Mackay. Starting to close in on these guys. Not enough, you would think, to close in and make it a real fight at the end. Umashima out in a land of his own as well as Damian Johnson. But Corey Preston right behind Sean Thompson, and they're pulling away from Marlon McMullen. So all of those battles that we've been watching throughout this race, that is where they all stand right now. Actually going to go to Preston. He's just made a huge mistake. He's given up a heap of ground there. What happened there? I think he might have made contact into the rear of Sean Thompson. He's just given up 2 seconds for nothing.
Yeah, it's very possible. He looked like he was pretty good off the back straight and didn't quite have the run, so possibly locking the rear brakes, possibly, as he's coming into the final chicane. Oh, and he's actually really coming deep and had to check up quite a bit from Thompson, who locked the left front, tried to pull it up quite a bit, so really no doing of his own, but really unfortunate there. That was actually quite a good battle.
And there was a bit of contact there. Have a look. You can see as Thompson, as you said, locked up. Preston was way too deep in there too. So both making errors as we come back live. It's not Brett Loxton that's under pressure now. It's Jordan Ross that's feeling the pressure.
Oh, but Loxton's made a mistake
Oh,
at
no.
his Cops corner, so now Ross is going to have a run and right up against the back end. Yeah, a little bit of contact between Ross and Loxton, rubbing bumpers with each other as Loxton's not quite got the exit on to the back straight. Burton's got a very solid exit though compared to both of them. Ross is going to be tucked right up in the draft of Loxton, and Burton's going to have a double draft. Neither of them going to have a look, but Burton's very loose under brakes. Had a look to try and pull it up, but that was very close to ending up in the fence there for Burton, as Burton's going to try and not quite have a look, trying to fill their mirrors of Jordan Ross, who's really trying everything he can to get past Loxton, who seems to be struggling at this point to really get the traction down.
And Jack Boyd will be loving seeing these guys fight like this, because although he's a little bit back, he'll be thinking that's the easiest way for him to get through if these three keep fighting, because there's bound to be contact the way that these guys are battling at the moment, because they're just too close for their own good. Jordan Ross has a little look up the inside, big lock up, and just pulls it up. Burton nearly makes contact. This is going to get spicy for the next few laps. You can feel something about to happen. Something's about to explode in this race.
Yeah, three very good drivers, three very good teams, all battling it out for these, well, pretty much the final two podium spots at this point. Burton poking his nose out, trying to fill the mirrors again of Ross, who's just finished a break on the inside there and had to struggle to pull it up, so that's allowed Burton to get all over the back, and Burton using a little bit of the bumper, try and get Ross a little bit loose to make him use his rear tyres up, but he's not quite got the exit that he needed, so it's going to not really help him as Loxton's starting to pull away a little bit more.
Yeah, Loxton got a very good run. And now we see that Jordan Ross is feeling the pressure once again. This is the closest all of these guys have been. We said before that they were separated by 1.7 seconds. They're now separated by under a second. All four of these guys under a second. This is when we love these races. This is when the action gets very spicy. And you never know which way it's going to play out. They've only got 3 laps to go when they cross the line. Any one of these guys could get on the podium. And James Mackay could still be a chance of getting on the podium if these guys make contact.
Yeah, I was just actually about to mention that. He was actually quicker than all 4 of the drivers ahead of him, so it's every chance that he could very well possibly get a podium out of this, if not top 5. So then keep the pace up that he's got going at the moment. He should be right in the hunt of this race, as Ross trying everything he can to try and get by, but just not able to get it done. Same with Burton. It's pretty much either get the run or not quite get it.
Yeah, it's getting very spicy between all 4 of these cars. James Mackay is dropping a little bit of pace, even though these guys are fighting. He's now 3 seconds back, but that won't matter too much. Just one minor bit of contact between any of these guys, and he will be right in amongst it there. You can see him in the background, but Burton right on the tail of Jordan Ross. Almost contact again. And I love this section of the track because all 4 cars using different lines, and the momentum coming out of the corner is identical for all 4.
Yeah, it's one of those weird corners where you can use any sort of line you want and still get away with it. Burton's got a very good run out of the corner on Ross. He's going to look up the inside, try and go as deep as he can. Not quite going to get the position. He's going to have to try and muscle his way around the outside. Boyd's going to come on by and get involved. He's going to stick his nose and try and repay the favour that Burton caused him earlier on, but not quite going to get up there enough. So these 4 still going at it. This is going to be helping Loxton quite a bit, but Ross will be doing everything he can. He'll be going, hey guys, let's work together and try catch this guy again.
And Brett Loxton is loving these guys fighting because he's now broken half a second away. Burton, Ross and Boyd well and truly in this. Mackay's not closing in at all. And these guys, look how aggressive they are over the curbs there. They've got to be careful not to be too aggressive, because if they cut them too much, slow down penalty will end their chance of a podium. Burton was the most aggressive there. Has he been okay? It looks like he is, because he's got momentum.
Yeah, very, very lucky for Burton not to get a slowdown there. He used just enough curb to help him there, but not get a slowdown. So he's done pretty good there again, all over the back end of Jordan Ross, but it's not quite able to get the exit on the traction. So it's really got to work on it here and get close enough if he can. Ross using a lot of curb there in the final chicane through the left-hander, and that's going to possibly hurt him, although looking at the run that Burton's got, doesn't seem to have hurt him too badly.
No, 2 laps to go. Not long left in this one at all. Still have 28 of our 32 starters out on the circuit. Brett Loxton now has broken a little bit of a gap. Cooper Webster is in a whole nother planet. He's left that other postcode and now he's in a different planet. He is so far ahead that he could get a couple of slowdown penalties and still maintain the lead of this race. But Loxton, Ross, Burton and Boyd all fighting. They all want a podium, but only 2 of them can have a podium spot. As we just go back in the field a little bit, there's battle going on between Hinds and Mulqueen, still side by side. Looks like Mulqueen might get this spot. No, they're going to continue side by side. This is what we expect to see in the next lap by from our lead group. Now, Hinds will hold on to that position. We cut back up to the front of the field again, as Jack Boyd is right on the tail. A little bit of Morse code going on between Boyd and Burton.
Yeah, a little bit of a mistake from Ross there as well through that corner, and that just sort of checked Burton up a bit, which then caused Boyd to make a little bit of contact. Ross going defensive this time behind the cops, as Burton's going to try hold around the outside. He's just going to hold on. Nearly contact between the 2 of them. They're going to go side by side, and the maggots and big heads don't do it, boys. Burton's going to do it.
Oh no!
Contact between himself and Ross. He's going to have to cut across the pavement section. That'll be a slowdown straight away. So that's from pretty much every chance he's got of a podium at this stage, although doesn't seem that he's lost too much out of it. But
no, he's still checking up
inside the position to Jack Boyd. So Boyd now with the chance of a podium here.
Yep, and we said it was only going to take one little mistake. That was Jordan Ross not having enough momentum and forcing Jake Burton to try something. He had no choice. He had to try something, really, didn't he? You sort of expected that coming up to the final lap, as they get the white flag this time by, that he was going to try something. It was ambitious, but didn't quite pay off for him. He's still going to hold on to 5th by the looks of it, although James Mackay is closing in, and if there is damage to Burton's car, then he could be in trouble, but at the moment he looks okay. Cooper Webster, though, driving off for his final lap. Jordan Ross now holding on from Jack Boyd. This is for the final podium spot. Who will get it? Both of them deserve it because they've had great pace, but only one of them will get a podium.
Right.
Jordan Ross is in trouble here. He's lost all the momentum too. He was off the throttle for so long.
Yeah, he just locked an inside front there, and that just caused him to run very, very deep on the brakes. This is going to really allow Boyd to take advantage if he can, using as much of the track as he can, even all the curb as well. Maximise the amount of grip and run that he can get through the corner. Not too bad of a run out of the corner as well. He's got a solid exit out of the corner onto the old front straight, and now Ross is going to go defensive as they head down toward Cop. So he's going to be latest on the brakes. Boyd's going to try go around the outside, but not quite. Going to be a bit of contact between Boyd and Ross. And Ross will hold on to the position for the time being. Is Boyd going to get the run onto the back straight? That's going to be the big talking point. If he can do it, he's going to have himself a podium. If not, he's going to have to settle for a 4th position.
And look at him trying to get the run, get the momentum. Because believe it or not, Steve Jansen and Dominic Ferraris have just changed position again. And it looks like Jordan Ross has got the run, but we go to the front of the field. Cooper Webster has had absolutely no TV time. That usually means that he's had a dominant drive. 19 seconds he's ahead right now. And he'll pick up the win, the first Monday Night V8 race at the new Silverstone circuit. Cooper Webster is your winner. Brett Loxton now will hold on for second by the looks of it. Jake Burton's under pressure. They have a look at James Mackay, the great run he's got. He's not quite close enough. We've got a slow car there. It looks like it's out of fuel. No, it's able to bring it home. But will Burton hold on for fifth? Loxton, Ross and Boyd have all crossed the line. And Burton will hold on. Just.
Yeah, barely was able to hold on to it there. He nearly missed out on a very solid result of top 5 after that. But at the moment, it's still going on just behind. But
Jansen's struggling with fuel.
David Kimmon and Blake Purdy still going in. Steve Jansen, Scott O'Keefe and Dominic Ferris all battling for position as well. And now Blake Purdy's out of fuel. So that's going to allow Steve Jansen and the rest to all pass on by.
Yep, and Purdy's just lost 4 spots. 4 spots for Purdy at the last corner with limited fuel. There's Taliancic and Ashley Ruskin side by side through the last section of the circuit as well. So still battles going on, even though the race is done. This has been a fantastic track for racing.
Contact.
Oh, wheel-to-wheel contact. Taliancic might get the spot here. He's got the inside line. This is going to be tight. Rushkin into the wall. But he got the spot by 92 thousandths of a second. But Cooper Webster, what a dominant drive. Well done to him. He brings it home in position 1. Race results coming up on screen now with, as we said, Cooper Webster winning. The only driver to do a lap in the 2-minute 2 bracket did that on lap 3. By far the fastest lap of the race. Brett Loxton finishes in second. Jordan Ross and Jack Boyd, what a battle between them and Jake Burton as well. Well done, guys. 3rd, 4th and 5th respectively. James Mackay finishes in 6th. Great drive from him. Harley Haber in 7th. Kazuki Umashima rounds out the top 8.
And 9th will go to Damien Johnston, followed by the very interesting battle pack of Sean Thompson, Corey Preston, and then Marlon McMullen. Damon Kimmond will come home ahead of Steve Jansen, Scott O'Keefe, and Dominic Ferraris, who all gained spots after Blake Purdy, who finishes 17th, ran out of fuel. Just behind him, Thomas Hins and Damon Mulqueen and Greg Sharp round out the top 20.
Then we got Michael Taliancic and Ben Christensen next. 21st and 22nd with Christian Vigiano as well as Christian Ortega. And then we go to Ashley Ruskin, Christian Smart finishing 1 lap down, then Josh Perwin also 1 lap down, Michael Lajloff, Brady Myers, Dean O'Brien, Brad Newman and Tom Freer. What a fantastic debut for this circuit. It's a great night of racing. I've thoroughly enjoyed that one and looking forward to coming back here again potentially next season. We're not 100% sure yet, but if we come back here again next season, it will be a great track to race out. Action doesn't end here on SimSpeed TV though. Tomorrow night we have the final round of the ASC Sprint Car Series. Looking forward to wrapping that season up. It's been a phenomenal season so far. The finale of that tomorrow night. And then on Wednesday night, start of Sprint Series Australia, the return after a little bit of a hiatus. Looking forward to having that one back. And as we said, next week in this series, we will be back at Watkins Glen. Cam, thanks for jumping in the booth tonight. It's been an awesome night of racing. And looking forward to seeing more Silverstone in the future.
Yeah, 100%. Awesome track for racing. And yeah, can't wait to see it again because that was absolutely entertaining throughout the whole entire race.
Sure was. So thank you very much for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe here on the iRacing Esports Network. And until tomorrow night for ASC, we thank you for tuning in. And we will see you next week at Watkins Glen.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he got rid of the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my god! Oh! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go! Oh no!
That's massive!
This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?